Hello everybody and welcome back to another video. Today I wanted to take a look at Hero 31 and what I think we can expect from Hero 31, from the hero type to when we might get Hero 31, and how the patterns of the previous hero launches I think will impact what Hero 31 is. I'll bring up a couple characters who I think are possible, but I don't have any theory on who Hero 31 will be. That's really solid. I think there were a lot of people with certain heroes who are like, oh, I think it's gonna be this hero. I think it's gonna be this hero. I don't really know who it's gonna be, but I'll give my thoughts on who would fit my theory of the type of hero we're gonna get. So let's start with when do I think we can get Hero 31, and I think we get Hero 31 any day now. If you look at the pattern of hero releases, starting with Ana. Obviously, all the other ones were released. Everyone before Ana was released when the game launched. But Ana was announced on July 12th, 2016, and released on July 19th. Followed by Sombra, who was at BlizzCon, then Orisa, who's in March. Then the next July 2017, we got Doomfist announced on July 6th. So about a week earlier, we got Doomfist announced. Then you have Moira from November. At BlizzCon, you have Brigitte in February of 2018. Then you get to Wrecking Ball, June 28th, 2018. Once again, another pretty much week before Doomfist was announced. And then you have Ashe at BlizzCon and Baptiste in February. We're at June 21st. We're at a week before Wrecking Ball's announcement last year. And that's why I think we realistically anytime now we could get Hero 31. Now, obviously, they don't have to do it the exact same way. They have done things differently in the past. They are not stuck to doing things exactly a certain way. They are actually pretty commonly known to do things differently, to not really follow exactly what happens every year. And Jeff Kaplan has said in an interview that everyone kind of sees the Overwatch team as doing things on like a pattern, and they do things the same time every year. And he said they're going to kind of shake things up this year, and they're going to surprise people and whatnot. So that means, of course, Hero 31 might not come this week or next week, and maybe the week after. Maybe we wait a little bit longer. They kind of push it off, but I think soon at least we should get a tease for the hero. I would expect soon that we will learn something more about the hero that we're going to get as Hero 31. But what type of hero do I expect it to be? When you look at the base roster right now, or I guess the roster right now, not really the base roster, because it also includes all the people they've added, there are 7 tanks: D.Va, Orisa, Reinhardt, Roadhog, Winston, Wrecking Ball, and Zarya. There are 7 supports: Ana, Baptiste, Brigitte, Lucio, Mercy, Moira, and Zenyatta, which is 14, which then leaves 16 damage heroes: Ashe, Bastion, Doomfist, Genji, Hanzo, Junkrat, McCree, Mei, Pharah, Reaper, Soldier 76, Sombra, Symmetra, Torbjorn, Tracer, and Widowmaker. I'm sure you guys know the roster, but that is your roster. So we have an even number of tanks and supports, but then we have pretty much, double the damage heroes. So what the game doesn't need as much right now are obviously damage heroes. Over half the roster are damage heroes. When Ashe came out, Jeff Kaplan was pretty much saying, like, we know we don't really need to add damage heroes right now. We just really like what Ashe is and where she has come, and the way she's developed. And, of course, you have to release her with the McCree animated short, I feel like. It's the most logical place to release Ashe. So, in a lot of ways, it just makes sense that Ashe was the last DPS hero we got. But then since Ashe, we've got Baptiste, support, and then before Ashe, we had Wrecking Ball, a tank. So we're looking right now at probably a support or a tank. And Baptiste was the last hero we got, and he was a support. Now, that doesn't mean necessarily that we can't get a support for the next hero. If you look at the pattern of release for heroes since the game's launch, the first one was Ana, who was a support. Then you had Sombra, who was a damage or a DPS. You had Orisa, who was a tank. Doomfist, who was DPS. Moira support. Brigitte support. Wrecking Ball tank. Ashe DPS. Baptiste support. So most of what we've gotten at this point in time are supports. We've gotten 4 support heroes added since launch. We've had 2 tanks added since launch. And we've had 3 DPS added since launch. Which is why I lean more towards the next hero being a tank. For a couple of reasons. One, while they don't always follow the pattern as we saw with Moira and Brigitte, if you take a look at, the hero roster, they've added 4 supports since the game has been released. And there's 7 total. Over half of the supports in the game were added post-launch. So they needed to add a lot more supports. And when they added Moira and Brigitte, they did it to kind of, before Moira was added, there were 4 supports and 6 tanks. So you add Moira, you get the 6 tanks and 5 supports, and then you add Brigitte, you get an even number of tanks and supports, which I think is just kind of a good-looking thing, and it's ideal for the game when you have kind of mirrored roster stuff. So that's true there. But now, of course, we've had 4 supports added post-launch and only 2 tanks. So to me, it would make sense for the next hero that they add to be a tank. We're also at a point in time in the game where I think we need more tanks. I think we need better tanks. I think we need tanks that can shape up the game a little bit. I think it's very difficult to find games where people are willing to play tank. So if you add another tank that people might want to play, that's something that I think you could add a lot of potential new tank players in, and you could bring people to play tank at least, just because it's a new hero, and then your team composition isn't completely shattered like it is currently. So while it's definitely not necessary for the Overwatch crew to add a tank next, because we've seen them add things, back to back. But typically, if you look at it, they follow a 3-type process. The first 3, there was a support, there was a DPS, there was a tank. The second 3 is where you run into the issue where it's not that case because you have a DPS, 2 supports. But then in the third group of 3, you have a tank, a DPS, and a support. So in theory, the next group could start with a DPS or could start once again with a tank. We don't really know at this moment what their plan is, but there's a lot of hero teases that I think kind of point towards what we can expect. And mainly, it's the 2 characters that we know for sure are in development. Though I guess we don't know. No, we know for sure they're in development. One is Echo. Echo to me looks like a support, seems like a support, acts like a support. And we know Echo's not the next hero. Well, if Echo's not the next support hero, then I don't expect us to get a support hero between now and Echo, because I think Echo's a support. And then if you add a support now and then a support with Echo, that's a ton of support heroes you're adding. I don't really think they want to do that. We know about Sojourn, who's in development, and to me, Sojourn looks very much like a DPS hero. I don't know why I said that so weirdly, but she looks like a DPS hero. So I don't expect us to get a DPS hero between now and Sojourn, which means the tank is the most likely one that we don't know about exactly what it is that's in development. Now, maybe Echo and Sojourn are very far off. Maybe we don't even get one of them at BlizzCon. We don't get them till next year, next March or next June, maybe even next November. Who knows how long it'll be until we get these heroes. And who knows if those heroes will even make it into the base Overwatch game. There's all these rumors about Overwatch 2. Maybe those heroes are heroes that we don't meet until we get to Overwatch 2. Who knows? That's a lot more kind of theory crafting and theorizing, and that's not really what I'm here for. What I do think we need to look at is characters in the lore that could potentially be a tank hero. The most recent one, of course, is Mauga from the Baptiste short story. I believe it's called What You Left Behind, or What Was Left Behind, something like that. But Mauga is a character. He's a big, beefy guy. He's very, big Samoan guy. At least he looks like he's a Samoan guy. Very strong. apparently very athletic, which is pretty accurate for Samoan culture. Um, and he was a Talon member, so you see him in the Talon heavy assault outfit, or armor. So he could be our next hero. He could be a tank. He has a personal shield or some kind of shield that he has. That's always possible. There's that Omnic that we saw at the end of Storm Rising. I think he could be a DPS or a tank, um, but we don't know yet. He seems like he's a pretty big guy, but that doesn't necessarily mean he's a tank. He could be a DPS. And then the other possibility for a tank is a mecha pilot, mainly Demon, who has a personal shield that we see on her mech. We could get a main tank, shield tank mech, which I think would be really cool. And it'll be a much different approach to what we get with Diva. So there's definitely options for a tank to be our next hero. If we get one, I don't really know if I hope it's a off tank or a main tank. I think I want it to be a main tank mainly because I actually prefer the off tank role right now. Which means when I have to fill and play a main tank, I'm really upset because I'm not a huge fan of the main tanks right now. Winston doesn't feel great. Reinhardt doesn't feel great. And while Orisa feels pretty good, I'm not a huge fan of Orisa. So it's just kind of a bunch of things that add up and that cause problems and that for me, I'm not a. And then Wrecking Ball, I guess it's technically a main tank, and I'm really bad at Wrecking Ball. I like playing Wrecking Ball, kind of, but I know I'm bad as him, so I get really frustrated when I'm playing as him because I know I'm not that good. Um, but that's just really what I think the game needs right now is another tank. So let me know down below what you think. What you think the next hero should be. What you think it will be. If you have a guess on who you think the next hero will be. When you think we'll get the new hero. We could get a tease. Like I said, we could get a tease today. 2 p.m. today, we could get a tease. 8 p.m. today, we could get a hero drop. They've definitely been very big on kind of weird expectations. Like when Baptiste dropped, it was 8 p.m. Eastern. I don't think anyone has ever seen a hero drop at 8 p.m. Eastern. It's always very weird and random, and they just kind of do what they want to do when they want to do it. It's what they like to do. But we'll have to wait and see what happens. Who knows what the next hero will be and when we'll get it. But we'll just have to watch and find out. But that's everything I have for you today. If you enjoyed, consider liking and subscribing, as it really helps out the channel. And as always, I will see you all in the next video. Thank you once again, and bye-bye.